Strong grip versus weak grip. What do those phrases even mean, and how does the grip and the way you hold the club affect the way you hit the golf ball? Today, I'm going to explain the benefits and the negatives of all types of grip and how you can learn different grips to help you hit different shots. The importance of grip truly cannot be understated, so stick around to find out what you should be doing with your hands as you place them on the club to become a better golfer. So the terms strong grip and weak grip, what do they mean? Well, they don't refer, as many people think, specifically to how hard you hold the club. Sometimes if you're told you have a strong grip, people might think that means you're holding the club too tightly, and equally a weak grip, maybe you're holding the club too lightly or too loosely. That's not the case. Strong and weak really refers to how your grip would deliver a club face that's either stronger or weaker, meaning more closed, being stronger, hitting the ball further, or weaker, the club face being more open, hitting weaker shots that don't fly as far. And when it comes to understanding where these phrases come from and what the arm position or the hand position is in order to achieve these different positions, you're really talking about how turned the forearms and the wrists are from one end of the spectrum to the other. So if I set up here with my hands out in front of me in this neutral condition with my palms facing each other, this would be where my forearms are in the sort of mid range of motion. I could roll or supinate my forearms, supinate meaning turning the forearms or the palms upwards. I could turn my forearms to this position here where I'm almost maxed out with maximum supination. I can't really turn my forearms any further out. And equally, I could go back to that neutral condition, and then I could pronate my forearms inwards and point my palms down. So we have this range here that the arms and the wrists can move through. Now, when applying that to the grip, when one forearm or wrist is pronating, the other one is supinating at the same time. So if I was to turn my wrists and my forearms as far as I could in one direction, what that would do, if I applied that grip to the club, is it would effectively give me the largest range of motion to turn and twist the club in one direction. This extreme grip, this one would be referred to as strong because it's likely going to strengthen or close the club face. This extreme grip, where my hands and arms are turned to the maximum on the club, means that I've got almost zero range of motion in terms of opening this club face any further, pretty much zero. But I've got a huge potential to close this club face down. So this is why strong grips, grips that are turned to the right for a right-handed golfer, would be associated with hooking the ball, hitting the ball to the left for a right-handed golfer, because this type of grip would be most associated with closing the club face too much. And equally, you can flip that on its head and go the opposite direction. So if I supinate my lead arm, turn the palm up to the sky, pronate my trail arm, turn my palm down to the ground. If I put my hands on the grip with this type of grip, this would be considered extremely weak. Once again, I've only really got one direction, one range of motion I can move this club face in, and that is to open it or twist it in this direction. I really can't close the face anymore. There's no range of motion left. So when you think about grip, and you think about how it influences the club face, and then you think how your typical shot pattern looks, you might be able to start to get an understanding of which direction you should be moving your hands into when you place them on the club. So for you right-handed golfers out there who hit the ball to the right, you struggle with an open club face, I'm going to tell you to start turning your hands, both of them, to the right more on the grip, moving the hands further and further around to be able to produce a movement through your wrists and forearms that helps you to square the club face more accurately and more often, rather than leaving the face open. So you may already have a good grip, or what would be considered a good neutral grip, but it's not producing the face angle that you want at impact. So you're able to move away from the norm. If you take a look at grips out there on the PGA and LPGA tour, you are going to see lots of neutral grips, grips that would be considered standard, and you are going to see some tremendously non-standard grips, grips that look very unnatural and certainly not what's taught in the textbooks. So if it's good enough for the best players in the world to move away from standard to find something functional, it's got to be good enough for you as well. You can move your hands around on the grip to explore and experiment what works for you. So if you hit to the right as a right-handed golfer, turn your hands more to the right on the grip. Equally, if you're someone who hooks the ball as a right-handed golfer, so you're hitting the ball off to the left too often, you already have a club face that's likely too closed. So you're going to take your grip, however it feels right now, and you're going to turn both your left and your right hand more to the left. Turn the hands around the grip to the left. That's going to reduce the range of motion that you have to close this club face and hopefully help you to reduce those hooked shots to the left as well. And I would even tell you that you could take this newfound information about positioning the hands onto the grip to change and influence the club face into other shots. You can use it specifically for short game. I use this myself in my own game, and I know lots of expert players do the same. You've got the weaker grip for the short game, meaning the left and the right hand are turned more to the left on the grip than they would be for my stock or standard shot. And that's because, as you now know, the weak grip, the hands turned to the left, is a mechanism to help you open or keep the face more open. And in short game, that's generally a very good thing. It helps to keep the loft on the club face. So I have a weaker grip for my short game shots. It means I'm more likely to deliver this club face in a square to slightly open condition, which helps me to hit those lovely high, soft shots around the green. I wouldn't want the opposite. I wouldn't want a strong grip where I'm closing down this club face and taking away all of this loft that my sand wedge has and turning it into a much less lofted club. Not only would that produce a lower shot that would be harder to control around the green, it would also point the club face more to the left and become much more difficult to control the direction. So you can have specific grips for different clubs and different shots. This would be my short game grip, going weaker than I typically would for a standard shot. And bringing that back to full swing, you could also use grip changes to change the way the ball curves, draws, fades, hooks and slices, maneuvering the ball around a tree should you need to do such a thing. The way that I would truly encourage you to do this would be to experiment with extremes. So many people struggle to move away from what's comfortable. You find a grip, whether it's functional or not, but it's comfortable. If you find that comfortable grip, people are very, very reluctant to move away from that. And yet the outcome is not going to change too much if we don't start paying attention or changing what we're doing with our contact with the club. Remember, the grip and our hands placement on the club is the only contact we have with the club that hits the ball. That's going to have an enormous amount of influence on how we deliver this club face. So let's try a little experiment here where I turn my hands the most I can to the right. This would be the most strong grip. I can already feel this club face wanting to shut down. Now, this wouldn't be functional for me to play with, but I'm going to hit a shot, and I would encourage you to do this as well. I would encourage you to go to the driving range and try these extremes. It isn't until you experiment with these extremes that you could potentially find something there that you never knew existed. And because I can't see each and every one of you and how you grip the club individually, I don't know which piece of this pie and which piece of this puzzle you need to fix. So you've got to try the extremes to be able to understand where the middle ground might be for you. Hands most turned to the right. Club face feels like it's going to close down dramatically. I'm going to hit one and let's see what we get. Hugely off to the left. I could feel that that was going to happen before I even set up to the ball. Now, that wouldn't be something I would typically choose to use anywhere on the golf course, pretty much, but I would now understand how I could close the club face more if I wanted to, and that was the full extreme version of that grip. I could dial that back slightly, gradually bring that back towards the middle, keep hitting shots until I found, as I say, that happy medium, that place where I'd want to be for my ball flight. You can also try the same thing in the other direction. Extremes, weak grip this time. Turn the hands to the left. That feels very strange once again for me. And I typically would err on the side of being slightly too strong as opposed to getting too much on the weak side. The weak side tends to, as we've said, open the club face, makes golfers a bit steeper and swing across the ball. That would be a significant power loss and where I would see the highest handicap golfers living. But suffice to say, you could still benefit from trying both extremes, especially if you're watching this video and you're someone who already has the club face too closed. Turn your hands as far as you can to the left on the club face. Club face is square for now, and as I swing through, I can already feel like my hands want to twist this club open. Reasonable contact, but you'll see how far off to the right that ball's flown. Now, once again, I wouldn't use either of those full extremes in any shot that I hit on the golf course. But knowing that I can produce such a wide dispersion, I can hit the ball probably 80 to 100 yards difference in terms of direction just based on a grip change, should encourage you to try a new grip. Go to the range and experiment. If you're someone who hits to the right, move your hands more to the right on the golf club as a right-handed golfer. If you're someone who hits to the left, move your hands more to the left. Keep experimenting with these extremes. Try more or less on both sides of that spectrum until you find the place where your hand placement produces the most consistent direction pattern for your shots. I hope you found that useful. A little bit of education there on the benefits, the strengths, the weaknesses of a stronger versus a weaker grip. No perfect grip really exists, but every one of you has a perfect grip that you could find for your game. If you're interested in training your wrist mechanics further, I'd encourage you to go and click in the link in the description of this video, which take you to further wrist training videos to enhance your wrist mechanics even further.